Good afternoon. My name is Ann Winkle, and here is my mini case study for Cultural Diversity EDL AEP 880. And here we go. I love case studies, so this assignment was one of my favorites. So, the reporting. So, we have the main characters here talking about who it is. We have Mr. Joel Pham. He is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Pham. He is Vietnamese. It did not mention, or it said that there was no language barriers for the family, and that they lived walking distance from school. Then there's Miss Pham, who is the mom. She worked for a printing company, a local printing company, and this company they had volunteer days, which I've heard of at companies before, and a lot of the people at the company did it at school, but she did not. She never did her volunteers at the school. She did attend parent-teacher conferences, though it said they were well off financially as far as it was said. And again, they are Vietnamese, but she was raised in the U.S. along with her husband, which is why there's really no language barrier. And they attended the same school that their son did. We'll get more into that in a little bit. Then there's Mr. Rolnick. He is the teacher in this situation, and he believed in family involvement in order for students to be successful. He gave families options to volunteer at the school, like doing bulletin boards and or shelving library books, or he gave them at home options like cutting things out, preparing materials. So I did appreciate that. And he gave in school and out of school options for volunteering. And so with that, he was very puzzled why the Fawn parents would not volunteer to help when he gave them many options, he felt like. And then we have Miles, who wanted to, that was who Joel, the son, wanted to partner with for the science fair projects, which kind of what stirred all this up because in order to do that, Mr. Rolnick required that they all meet together, all the families and the students, in order to come up with a plan to make sure that both boys did equal amount of work for this project. And then there's Mrs. Smith, who is a co-worker of Mr. Rolnick and also a teacher at school. She's taught for over 25 years. So she is who Mr. Rolnick went to advice for on this farm family and the parent involvement situation. And she kind of told him the history about how the family went to school there. It was not a good experience for them. And so gave him some points on to reflect on that maybe there's other things, other barriers that he needed to consider. That's why the Fawn family wasn't getting involved, and that he would have to approach this family a little different. So it made him kind of reflect on this. So kind of establishing what happened, some of the points I already said. So again, you have Mr. Rolnick, who is big on family involvement, gives parents options. And then Miss Pham, she has a history of not volunteering at school, even though her job kind of requires it, but she does attend parent-teacher conferences. And so then the science fair situation came about, and he wanted them to meet in person. And she said no, she'll just talk to her son at home. And that's where the passiveness came in, and it kind of upset Mr. Rolnick. And so he went to advice from a coworker who again said that they went to school there. The school was not welcoming. And so some of the same teachers are still there. So maybe that has something to do with the reason why they won't volunteer. So it just kind of gave him some things to reflect on. Maybe there's other barriers he's not considering. And so Miss Smith definitely opened his eyes to that. So then to talk about, so that's kind of what we have going on here. So here's some responses to the questions that were in the module. So first of all, we have the question was, Mr. Rolnick provided various opportunities for student parents to volunteer, but Mr. and Mrs. Pham did not volunteer in these ways. Mrs. Smith suggests that one reason for their lack of participation might be their own experiences as students. So it was asked what other things could be keeping them from volunteering. There could be culture factors. You know, the dad has never mentioned, maybe the dad is the one that is supposed to be out of the house. I know in some cultures, women aren't supposed to be out in public a whole lot. So maybe the dad was the one that was supposed to be volunteering more in the school, and maybe his job was keeping him from it. Maybe there's other families in the school that the Fawn family doesn't get along with. Maybe they have a situation from the past or the present with a principal, and they just don't like going to the school because they know they might have to see the principal. Or maybe something in the past they were taken advantage of when they volunteered. Maybe there's an older sibling that we don't know about in the situation or they were taken advantage of when they volunteered in the past. So those are all other things that could keep them from volunteering. My personal experience was something similar. Different cultures treat school differently. Like maybe it's supposed to be all just, school, learning knowledge, volunteering for these events, that's not needed. They don't need to do all that kind of stuff. That could be a part of it. How do they feel about school and their culture? Parent roles, which I kind of brought up. Maybe the dad is supposed to be doing it more. I've seen that before, where the mom's not supposed to be out in public. And then again, past experiences. I know a lot of parents, especially when I was coaching, like volunteering for bringing food and stuff, they're burnout. They've done it too much with their other kids, or they felt like they were taken advantage of in the past. So that's kind of my personal experience with a similar occurrence. The second question was, how should Mr. Rolnick and other teachers and administrators reach out to parents or other caretakers who might have experienced school as a hostile environment when they were students? So this is kind of a big question. I think that they should try open house nights to start with, where maybe parents don't have to do anything. They just show up and see what the school is about, be very welcoming. Multicultural nights where the students are doing all the work and the teachers. Student showcase nights where you have the parents coming again. They're not doing a whole lot, but they kind of see that environment and how it's not hostile, maybe a lot different from when they grew up, where they get to see what their kids are learning, how they're learning in different classrooms. Intro, meet the teacher letter at the beginning of the year with your own experience, your own background, your own culture, kind of get to know you, familiar face. That's always something that you can try. So those are just a couple that I think could work in this situation. Describing personal experiences that you have had with similar occurrences. A lot of parents have bad experiences. I'm a math teacher, so a lot of parents have bad past experiences with math. So I've always had to kind of work around that and be welcoming and understand that, I wasn't perfect at math either. And so that's why I try to put that in my students that, hard work does pay off. It's not all about being the brightest kid in the math classroom. So that's kind of my personal experience having hostile parents with math. You just have to kind of be welcoming and explain your own personal experience. They want to hear about you. So you got to be open and build that relationship and be vulnerable. And of course, I was in an environment where parents didn't enjoy school at all, so they didn't care. They didn't show up. And so I really had to go. That's why I talked about the intro, make the teacher letter. Just get yourself out there, be as welcoming as you can and be vulnerable. And parents will open up. It just takes time. How would the staff know about this that there's a barrier? This is why team meetings are so important to me, because there's other staff members that might have dealt with the family, heard something about the family. And so when you bring up different students and different situations you're having in your own classroom and asking for help, kind of like what happened with Miss Smith and Mr. Rolnick, then they can talk about it and get advice from each other. And then, of course, sometimes students talk. That's why it's important to have relationships with your students, because they might just open up and tell you, hey, my mom's not coming because of this and this and this. Like, don't tell them I told you. I've had those situations too, where the kids will tell you if you have a good relationship with them. How could you have eliminated this situation from happening? When it said this situation, I wasn't totally clear on what the module was asking, but you can do more assignments on culture and family from students to kind of know what the barriers are in different cultures that you might not know, and learn more from your students. And again, they might open up about their own family. And then I also feel like Mr. Rolnick could have given Miss Baum an option to meet, or all of them to meet virtually. It might not have been in person, but she might have been open to that and just not at the school. So I think he could have given her a couple more options than he did. And then the final question was, Mr. Rolnick appeared to assume because they didn't take advantage of family involvement opportunities that he created, that they did not care in their son's education. So what are some ways that parents can show that they are involved and interested in their kids' education, but not necessarily volunteering? And so this is from research and my personal experience. I put it all into one. Parents can be involved by just helping at home, things you don't see. Helping at home with homework, making flashcards for their kids, helping them study for a test, asking deeper reflective questions of what they learned at school. Like not just, what is 1 + 1, but, why is 1 + 1 2? Like those kind of questions. They could send school supplies. That's a way of showing that they care. Practicing, I kind of just thought of this in my own personal experience. Parent involvement at my school is big on helping their students prepare for STAR. Past what we do in the classroom as teachers, like printing practice tests or having them do practice tests at home. You could also have them, they could also be helping new families in the neighborhood of the same culture, or just they go to the same church and go to their school, helping them become acclimated to the school, what the school expects. Those are things we don't see. If they attend parent-teacher conferences, They spark their interest in their child in different colleges, different careers, going on visits, stuff like that. And then attend events of their children, like their musical concert or things like that. Meet the teacher night, things like that. So those are some other ways that parents can get involved that isn't necessarily volunteering at the school. So that is my take on the case, and here is my reference. And I hope you learned a lot of this case study just like I did. Thank you so much.